Hello and welcome to the Best Football Show. This is the live version, live on both X, Twitter, and Instagram here today. I'm here for all of your questions. It's we start week 6 tonight. I've got 5 weeks digested. I've got all the games been watched. All of the plays have been broken down. All the stats have been studied here. I'm here for your questions about your teams, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I want to kind of get things started here because there's still a fallout of what's going on up in Florham Park, New York, the home of the New York Jets, because it's just wild, just absolutely wild. Regardless of what report you want to believe or what's the truth out there, you got all kinds of reports. But this offense has struggled. The quarterback has struggled. The running game is the worst in the NFL. Breece Hall is a great back. He can't get 3 yards a carry. Almost half of his runs have gone for 2 yards or less. Something's not right. So people thought, well, why didn't they just fire Nathaniel Hackett? And people said, well, he's best friends with Aaron. Aaron would be upset. Well, they basically demoted Nathaniel Hackett already today by Jeff Ulbrich, the interim new head coach, and elevated Todd Downing, who's been a play caller before, been a coordinator before. So it's now on Todd Downing to get this running game fixed. Because honestly, I feel like the Jets can win this game Monday night against Buffalo. And I feel like they can turn their season around if they can get their running game going. It's stuck in the mud. There's just too many breakdowns up front. If I was Jeff Ulbrich, if I was Joe Douglas, the general manager, I would put this team in pads today. Beautiful day on the East Coast up here. Beautiful sunshine. Beautiful day to go out and hit somebody. I'd put the pads on today and tomorrow, and I'd work on my run game. I'd find 4 runs the way the Buffalo Bills did with Marv Levy and Thurman Thomas. I'd find 4 runs and execute those 4 runs against every look, no matter what any defense wants to do. Blitz, 3-man front, 4-man front, nick, whatever they want to play. I'd run 4 plays. I'd just simplify this thing, and I'd get Breece Hall and Braylon Allen going. That's what I would do. That'd be the first thing I would fix, because Aaron Rodgers has dropped back in the last 2 losses 108 times. He's been sacked 8. He's been hit 25 times. Okay, like he's not going to survive. No quarterback's going to survive dropping back that many times. You're not going to have a winning record. That's what I would do if I would fix the run game. And you look, Monday night against Buffalo is as good a team as any to do it against. So that's that. Anyways, let's move on. By the way, just so you know, my good friend and Hall of Famer Joe Klecko was just in the building here at NFL Films. I never know who's going to pop in. Bill Belichick is down there taping some shows right now. It's a good think tank just to run things by people. I ran into Rod Woodson, the Hall of Fame Rod, by the way, at 2 different positions, at corner and at safety, with Super Bowl hardware to prove it, and an unbelievable career. I spent 2 hours with Rod after the Ravens-Cincinnati game talking defense, and just things that he learned from Dick LeBeau, Rod Rust, great defensive coordinators that I went and looked for this week when I did my film study. So let's get to tonight's game, Seattle and San Francisco. I'll do that quickly here. Like, look, I see Mike just Mike says, I've paid my dues. What are the chances Seahawks win tonight? Well, it's at home in a short week. That's an advantage, period. All right. Now, they just got taken to the woodshed last week by the New York Giants on every phase of the game. All right. They had a field goal blocked. All right. Geno Smith was just under siege. There was no run game at all. All right. And defensively, they got spanked hard. All right. They threw out a rookie making his first start, Tyrone Tracy. He ran for 129 yards, averaged 7.2 yards a carry. They got thumped. So nobody wants that to happen. But the best thing you could do after a beatdown the way the Giants gave it to them is get back on the field as quickly as possible. Because everything in this business is fixable. It's a week-to-week league. Do the Seahawks have a chance tonight? Yeah. Because the 49ers, to me, now they had that game won last week, and then, I mean, any way you want to look at it. All right. The Jordan, the running back fumbles the ball going in to put him up 2 scores. All right. But look, he got the ball stripped. I mean, the Cardinals out-hit him. All right. They covered him up pretty good. Quarterback looked like he struggled all day. I think, the loser of this game is going to lose their 3rd straight game. So I mean, both teams were expected to compete for playoff spots. San Francisco is supposed to be an elite team. They don't look like it right now. The thing that's different this year, last year they lost 3 in a row in the middle of the season. All right, they lost to Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Minnesota. And then they had a bye week. They didn't win a game for a month last year. Then they had the bye. So a month goes by, they don't win a game. For all you fans out there, I don't care what team you are. I don't care if you're Jacksonville, if you're Cincinnati, or if you're Minnesota, whatever. Doesn't matter. You lose 3 games in this league. Honestly, life is miserable. You don't want to go to the grocery store. You don't want to be seen in public. Everybody's talking bad about you. The radio, the talk radio stations are lit up. The reporters are looking for dirt. They're looking for things to be busting apart. That's just life in the NFL. It's just a fact. And so the loser of this game is going to go through that tonight. Mike McDonald's supposed to fix a defense that wasn't very good last year, and they didn't have any answers to the Giants last week. They couldn't pressure the Giants. They couldn't defend the run against the Giants. Daniel Jones was basically untouched. So they've got a lot to fix. The 49ers, though, the reason why I brought up last year was I felt like last year, after the bye week, I think they played Jacksonville and they spanked them. And then they went on a win streak, like 6-game win streak or something like that. This doesn't feel like it's that fixable this year as it was last year. Last year, they came out of it. I remember I saw Fred Warner before the Tampa game, and they had just beaten Jacksonville. And I'm like, are you back, Fred? Like, is this team going to go? And he's like, well, we got it. Like, honestly, we're not thinking about those losses. We learned from them. We're full speed ahead. Like, we're gonna make some noise this year. And I believe Fred, what he said. I believe Fred anyways, but I was convinced that they were going to turn it around. I'm not convinced right now. The defensive line doesn't pressure the quarterback very much. They've lost Javon Hargrave, their best interior defense tackle. They lost Eric Armstead last year. Like, they lost players. The safeties, Talanoa Hufanga, who came back from a major knee injury, and Tig Brown, I haven't seen them make a play yet this year. And they're both good players. They're both guys that can take the ball away. I haven't seen them make a play. Like, they just don't look, and offensively, they don't look fast. Now, look, Christian McCaffrey isn't out there. He might not be out there, but they don't look like they have speed. It looks like the Cardinals didn't have, outside of a couple throws to Ayuk, the Cardinals look like they had no problem defending them and making the quarterback hold the ball. So I have somebody that asked me this question. It's a good question. Who has the best offensive line that doesn't have an offense to match? So if you go through the best offensive lines in football, it starts with Detroit, and they have an offense to match. And I think you'll see it in Dallas this week. I think you'll see David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs run pretty effectively. Whether Frank Ragnow plays or doesn't play, they'll put Glasgow in at center. They didn't skip a beat last week when they played. Best offensive line that doesn't have an offense to match. Well, I can't think of one, to be honest with you. I would say, actually, I would say the Philadelphia Eagles. But because, Jalen, well, in large part, look, you play without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, for most of the last 2 games. You're not going to be very good. But, their offense wasn't good against Tampa. Did they put up 15 points or 15 points against New Orleans? I feel like their offensive line, especially Lane Johnson, will be back this week. I feel like that's an offense that doesn't match the play of the offensive line right now. Saquon should get off this week, okay? They play Cleveland. Cleveland's got a good defense, really good defense. I don't know how long they can hold it because the offense is so bad and the quarterback is so bad. So I don't know how long they can hold it together, but I know this. In looking at this game, I'm announcing that game for national radio for Compass Media Networks this week. And I know this. Jim Schwartz is the architect of this Browns defense. He was the architect and the defense coordinator for the Eagles when they won a Super Bowl in 2017. He was out of football for an entire year 2 years ago. And I remember seeing him when Tennessee came to play the Eagles, and he was just helping out with Mike Vrabel at that time. He has roots going all the way back to Tennessee when he first got started. But he was waiting to get another job, whether it was a head job, and he had one in Detroit, of course, or it was a coordinator. He was ready. Like, this is just the way players love to go back and play against their old teams. Coaches love to do the same thing too. So Jim Schwartz will have his defense ready for the Eagles this weekend. So that's something to kind of look at. Thoughts on Justin Fields? Honest to God, I love Justin Fields. I love the fact that when he was at Ohio State and the pandemic was going to shut down the Big Ten, he wrote a letter. He wanted to play. They got things finally turned around. They played, and he had a good season. I thought his rookie year when Matt Nagy threw him out to the Wolves against Cleveland for his first start, and Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett just ate him alive. For 9 sacks and a bunch of hits. Like, I didn't think he had much of a chance because the team around him wasn't very good in Chicago, but I did see improvement. I saw improvement with him. And now I'm watching him in Pittsburgh. Man, like, I thought we would see far more explosive plays with him running, whether it's designed runs or scrambles. And he's got a great arm. Sometimes it isn't always accurate. Sometimes it isn't where it's supposed to be thrown. But I would have thought after 5 weeks of starting that the passing game in Pittsburgh would be much further along. And he looks like he's regressed, whether it's learning a new offense or not having a lot of receiving options. They don't get the ball to George Pickens enough. I mean, is that the quarterback's fault? Is that Arthur Jones' fault, the offensive coordinator? I don't know. How many coordinators has he been through? You go back to Chicago, Pittsburgh right now. I mean, he's had at least 3 in the last 3 years. So that's always an excuse for a quarterback. Quarterbacks develop, players develop if they want to develop. But he's had a chance to start for 5 weeks. This is what I know about Justin Fields stat-wise right now. Like, it's not pretty. I shouldn't even have to look this up because it's been so bad. But, he's only thrown the 1 interception, but they're throwing, they're just, the stats say it's not bad. The stats say it's not bad. I saw Kyle Allen come in last week for a play, and his first play was a 19-yard, bang 8 to Freiermuth, the tight end, and he looked like he could get the ball out of his hands quickly. I just want to see the passing game step up. And obviously the offensive line has struggled. They got a rookie right guard in McCormick. Fields, Frazier's been really good at center. Spencer Anderson was in their guard. They lost Daniels. They lost Fatano. They lost Isaac Seumalo for 3 games. So they've had their share of injuries up front, and maybe things will get better as they get guys back. Seumalo is back. All right. We'll see. I like Mason McCormick. They like him. 6th-round pick out of South Dakota State. We'll see. But I thought they would have a much better day against Dallas without Micah Parsons, without Tank Lawrence being able to throw the ball. I thought they'd have time and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Do you think Will Levis will make a turnaround and take Titans on potential run? So if you go back and you look at Tennessee right now, like, it's rough, okay? Like, I feel like they should have beaten Chicago. That ridiculous throw that Tyreek Stevenson took back for pick 6 is ridiculous. The next week, they're going in to go up 14-0 on the Jets. They're, like, inside the 10-yard line. They're going in to score, and he has some ridiculous fumble. Like, I feel like this team could easily be 3-1. I feel like Bill Callahan is doing a great job with some young offensive linemen and new offensive line. Cushenberry in at center. J.C. Latham at left tackle. I feel like the run game is there. I mean, if you look at both Pollard right now and you look at Spears, like, they're both good backs. Now, Spears isn't having a great season yet. But, Will Levis right now, he's got the 6 interceptions, and he's fumbled 3 times. He's got 9 turnovers in 4 games. Nobody's going to have a winning record if your quarterback turns it over 9 times. Like, he's on pace for over 35 turnovers. I thought Mason Rudolph came in and played better than he had shown. I know he didn't complete, a lot of, for a lot of yards in that last win against Miami, but he didn't lose the game. So, but can he turn it around? Here's the thing. you can't live with 9 turnovers in 4 starts. It's not even 4 full games because they took him out and when he got hurt and Rudolph went in. So you can't live with that, period. But at the same time, you want him to be aggressive. Okay, he's a big, strong kid, but that's okay. Joe Montana wasn't big or strong; he was phlegmatic, but he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's not about being big or strong or being fast at that position. It's about reading the defense and making the right read. And I feel like Rudolph does that better than Levis, but you still want to give this kid a chance to develop. You just don't want to lose games along the way because parts of this team is playing really good. Like Tafondre Sweat is a beast. And when if Simmons is healthy this week, and I assume he is, as they get ready for Indianapolis, like those 2 guys inside make any defense like think twice about running the ball. It gets very, very tough. I like the way they compete. In fact, they gave up the 30 points to Green Bay. That was Malik Willis's payback, to Tennessee. But can he make the turnaround and put this team on a run? I think anything is possible if the quarterback play is good enough. And it hasn't been good enough. But if you look at what Washington's doing in their turnaround, that's all due to the quarterback. Last year's turnaround with Houston was all due to the quarterback. Chicago now, 3-2. Their quarterback has played very well 2 weeks in a row. You could turn things around when you get great quarterback play. Brock Purdy, for most of 2.5 years, was phenomenal. It's not that he's bad right now. It's just the pieces around him have either been injured or haven't been very good. I'm not making excuses for him. He's not playing like he did the last 2.5 years right now. But I think if you get good quarterback play, then you can get that to turn around. Baldy, have you been impressed by Carmen Priscilla? Of course. Carmen Priscilla took over this year for Bobby Johnson. Bobby Johnson's coaching in Washington. Bobby Johnson's a good coach. It didn't work out last year for him. They lost Andrew Thomas and John Michael Phillips literally on the first week of the season and, to injuries. And they didn't have quality backups. But let's talk about Carmen. Carmen's a good coach. He's a good coach. And really what you see is good coaching. Like that performance in Seattle last week, you look at Illuminar, you look at Van Roten, Schmitz, John Michael Schmitz. I'm a big fan of John Runyon and Andrew Thomas and the tight ends, whether it's Baldinger or Theo Johnson, whoever. They play great. If you look at the fundamentals, for example, on inside zone, their ability to get foot to foot, shoulder to shoulder, and drive Big Cat Williams, drive quality defensive tackles off the ball. They moved the line of scrimmage. They won the line of scrimmage. That's Carmen. But the big thing was, and this is 3 weeks in a row now, you go back to the loss to the Cowboys, and even how they competed against Washington. Their offense line has protected Daniel Jones very good. Outside of the first week where they weren't, it wasn't great, they have played increasingly better. And look, Cincinnati has got major issues on defense. No question about it. This is a big test for the Giants. Can they stack wins? Can they go to Seattle and win? Can they come back and play Cincinnati on national TV and play to that level? They should get Malik Neighbors back, but I don't know. They should get Motor Singletary back, but they played great without both those guys last week. And that's a good sign. But I am unbelievably impressed. It's the best. That performance by the Giants against Seattle is the best Giant performance I can remember and recall in a long time. Runyon's been really good. Van Roten has been basically a journeyman backup player. He's played well. And Jermaine Illuminar, who they wanted to play at guard, honestly, when they signed him, and they wanted Evan Neal to play tackle. Jermaine's playing great. He played great the last 2 years with the Raiders. He's just a very consistent player. I know Jermaine a little bit. He got hurt. He was drafted by the Ravens. He got hurt his rookie year. He was out for the season. But when he's been given the opportunity to play, he's played very consistent football. And last week he lined up against some really good players, and he played great. So hats off to Carmen. Let's see. From Brock, do you think the Saints go into crisis mode if they lose again? They're going to start Spencer Rattler. As you all kind of remember, Spencer Rattler was there. He was a highly recruited kid. He was playing for Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. He got Wally pipped by Caleb Williams, if that's such a thing with Caleb. Went to South Carolina, played pretty well. I had him in the Hula Bowl this year. That was on CBS, second week of January. I was around him. He had a good game. He had a good week of practice. I knew he could play in this league. The problem right now with the Saints, whether Spencer Rattler plays well, if they look, Derek's going to miss weeks. This is not a win. This abdominal injury that he suffered at the end of the game, like this isn't a 1 week fix. This might take a little while. The problem they have right now is they lost Eric McCoy, the center, and they lost Cesar Ruiz. So now they've weakened basically three positions. The starting left guard, Lucas Patrick, is now playing center. And I thought Lucas, along with the rookie Taliesin Fuaga, was excellent the first 2 weeks. But McCoy went down early in the first quarter against the Eagles week 3. And it felt like they weakened two positions, left guard and center. Then they lost Cesar Ruiz. So now the interior of the offensive line is a mess. And Trevor Penning is okay. He's not a great player, but he's better at right tackle than he ever was at left. So what's happened is the running game has gone away. Kamara still has a lot of yards, but they're not running the ball well like they did the first 2 weeks right now. And so that's going to fall in the hands of Spencer Rattler. Now, I think Spencer Rattler, they're trying to get the ball to these receivers. And they got one last week to Rashid Shaheed. They got the one big play to get him back in the game. But, they like this one. They like this one kid from Harvard. I'm blanking on his name. I'll tell you right now. They love this kid. In fact, they told me he's the fastest player on the team, which is hard to believe because they have Olave and they have Shaheed. But they tell me that Mike Tipton is the fastest player on the team. They tried 3 times this past weekend or Monday night. They tried 3 times to get the ball down the field to Tipton. They didn't get one completed. So I know he's got speed. I know they love him. He really hasn't impacted any game yet. Be interesting to see how, because it seems like right now with the running game struggling, it seems to me like they're relying, especially when Kansas City started pulling away. Although they got the interception in the end zone and Derek put a drive together to cut it 16-13 in the fourth quarter. They gave up the 50-yard play to Juju, and Chiefs scored 3 plays later, and they took the lead again, 23-13. They scored 12 points against the Eagles, 13 last week. They're not putting points up right now. So who knows? Maybe Spencer Rattler, I think Derek Carr is a quality quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but maybe he gives them some kind of spark. I don't know. If they hit their deep shots, maybe things change a little bit for them. I just think that with the injuries they've suffered in the offensive line, they might have difficulty running the ball. It might be difficult for Spencer. Are the Broncos a playoff team? Well, I don't think any team has improved more since the beginning of the season than the Denver Broncos. Defensively, they are the surprise team in this whole league right now. What they're doing to teams is amazing. And Patrick Surtain, what he did last week to the Raiders, the 2 interceptions, but the pick 6. I mean, the Raiders are going in to score, to take a 17-3 lead. All right. And they, and Minshew sails the ball over Brock Bowers' head. It's not probably the right read, but he sails it right in the arms of Surtain. And he goes 102 yards. The game completely turns around. But, they broke a streak of the Raiders winning 8 straight games against them. So, are they a playoff team? Well, Kansas City is, obviously. They play the Chargers this week. They're coming off a bye week. They haven't played well in the last 2 games at all. I love the Broncos defense. What Vance Joseph is doing is amazing. All right. Zach Allen, DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, this kid, Justin Sternob, stepping in for Alex Singleton. The secondary might be as good as there is in football right now. I love everything about the defense. Offensively, it's kind of amazing what's going on. Last week they lost their starting right tackle, who was the backup right tackle. They lost their starting center. They got a backup center in there, and they're still moving the ball against the Raiders. it's amazing watching Sean Payton develop this Bo Nix. He's played increasingly better. And when I say the Broncos have improved as much, if not more, than every other team in this league, that's where the biggest improvement comes from. He could not throw the ball to a wide receiver the first 2 weeks. Couldn't complete a pass. It was awful. And now he's getting the ball to Cortland Sutton, into Josh Reynolds. And his movement is very good. And suddenly, the run game, starting the second half of the Jets game, and then against the Raiders last week, Javonte, Jaleel, Bo, like the run game is real. Like they found runs that are good and that they can execute. And they're getting the second level blocked. It's really impressive to watch. To answer the question, compared to the other AFC teams, you look at Cincinnati, which we thought would be a playoff team. Maybe they rebound. If you look at Cleveland, we thought maybe they might be a playoff team like last year. If you thought, you go through these teams, if you thought Houston was going to be a shoo-in, I think the Broncos can play with any of those teams I just mentioned and beat them. So are they one of the 7 best teams in the AFC at 3-2 right now? Yes, they are. But, it's a lot of football to be played. But I like the development of the quarterback. I love the way Sean's bringing them on. And the defense is, I'm not going to say elite, but they're very, very good. They're very talented. And they play very well together. They play fundamentally as good as any team in football. They know how to, their run fits are good. They know how to stack and shed up front. Zach Allen is a beast, an absolute beast right now. And so with his quarterback pressures and what he's doing, he's making a difference up front. John Franklin Myers is exactly what they needed. They needed a third guy with DJ Jones that could really stand tall and really take on blocks, and they're doing that right now. So hats off to the Broncos. Look, Daniel, I appreciate the question, Daniel Evans. Why is cover 2 so popular in the NFL right now? Well, look, it's always been popular. All right. I mean, there's only so many coverages you can play. You can play quarters, you can play cover 2, cover 3, cover 1, cover 0. I mean, those are basically the coverages. You could play cover 6, man one side, zone the other side, press one side, play off on the other, push. All these things have been out there. But here's the cover 2 beater, okay? You want to play your safeties back. Like I was doing this with the Giants the other day. The way Seattle's got their safeties back, right? So I'm like, the best way to get them out of that is to run them out of it. You start running the ball against a team in cover 2, and their safeties are 10 to 15 yards deep. You want to get them out of that, run it. Because they've got basically a hat on a hat. And you don't have that extra defender who's unaccounted for that could just blow the runs up. Now, teams will cheat out of cover 2 if they see a run developing. And so they'll rotate a safety, like Vic Fangio's like that. There's teams that do that. All right. They show you a cover 2 shell. Baltimore did that last year with Mike McDonald. But ultimately, you throw a team into cover 2 because you're beating them in the passing game. For example, if Joe Burrow sees you in cover 1, single high safety, all right, color in the post, as we like to say. If Joe Burrow sees it, the ball's going to Jamar Chase right now, all right? So you almost have to play Cincinnati, who's averaging 35 points a game over the last 3 weeks, and they play the Giants this week. Giants have to play Cincinnati in cover 2. They have to. With T. Higgins and Yossi in the slot and with Jamar, like you have to play that team in cover 2. Now, if you run Chase Brown and you run Zach Moss and they're picking up 5 or 6 yard chunks, you'll get them out of it, And so basically teams are saying with these receivers as talented as they are and quarterbacks like Mahomes or Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow or Joe Flacco, guys that push the ball down the field, you'd be crazy not to play cover 2. So I don't believe it's any more popular than it's ever been, but you can get teams out of it by pounding the football. Like you're not going to play the Ravens right now in cover 2, not the way they're running the football. That wouldn't make any sense. Although Lamar threw the ball really well last week, but so it just depends on the opponent. If you're going up against Detroit right now, you're probably not going to start in cover 2 against their ability to run the football with that offense line and with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm just guessing that that's not how you're going to start. So I appreciate the question. It's being talked about. I know Mel Kiper brought it up. And if you look at Brian Flores, for example, like I see him in a 3-deep coverage when you get in the 2nd and 3rd and long. They're just not going to let the ball go over their head. It's good. It's sound football. And then you give them a bunch of junk at the line of scrimmage where they're breaking down your protections and getting a free hitter to the quarterback like Harrison Smith did against the Jets last week, and he's sacking Aaron Rodgers. Teams aren't handling the junk very good for Brian Flores, and they've got teams confused right now. So that's a factor. All right. So, look, I guess that's about 30 live minutes. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm looking forward to the start of week 6 tonight in Seattle. The Giants completely took, their 12th man out of the game last week with the way that they played. Jordan Mason is certainly capable of doing what Tyrone Tracy Jr. did to him. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan watched that film 10 times along with his staff going, we got to run the ball against Seattle. And I would expect Jordan Mason, who I think he's 2nd in the league in rushing right now to Derrick Henry, having a great season. I would expect to see Jordan Mason. Now, they got to be careful. They got to be careful about overworking him because he's never done this before and wearing him down. So you might see the rookie in there from Louisville. We'll see. But anyways, I would expect Jordan Mason to get a bunch of carries tonight. All right. Look, I appreciate y'all tuning in. We're going to do this every week. We'll find a set time and day, hour to do this. I love doing it. We're here every day. The best football show is here every day. You can download this, like it, subscribe to it on your free Odyssey app, wherever you get your apps from. We'd appreciate you, a little shout out and clicks and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to grow this. But I love talking football. I do it every day. I'm going to go find Joe Klecko right now, everybody. And I appreciate you tuning in and look forward to talking to you tomorrow. And as I break down the start of week 6 in that San Francisco-Seattle game.